Welcome back, everyone, and I trust we all had a refreshing time in the Environment and Sustainability panel session. Indeed, it was very enlightening to hear from our regulators and industry experts on all the existing initiatives on promoting a sustainable environment. Once again, please do not forget to start watch parties on Facebook. This is to ensure that everyone in your community is carried along as we launch straight into the waste management category. And of course, in this segment, we have 2 main speakers and 4 panelists. Do enjoy. Don't forget to log into Slido for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Mrs. Belinda Ronke Odeneye. Mrs. Odeneye is the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources. She graduated with a BSc in Industrial Chemistry. She later had a master's degree in Environmental Pollution Control from the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom in 1992. Mrs. Odeneye has decades of experience in both the public service of the federal government and Lagos State Civil Service. She worked for 23 years as a scientific officer at the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, which became Federal Environmental Protection Agency, FEPA. Then to Federal Ministry of Environment, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, LASEPA, Lagos State Safety Commission, and the Environmental Services Department of the Ministry of the Environment. Mrs. Belinda Ronke Odeneye reached the heights of her career when she was sworn in on August 19, 2019, as the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources. As an astute health, safety, and environment professional, she participated in many capacity training and international congresses, such as World Congress on Safety and Health at Work in Frankfurt, Singapore, Safety and Health Exposition in London, World Bank Certificate Course in Environmental and Social Framework, 2019, amongst several other trainings, conventions, congresses. Mrs. Belinda Odeneye is a Fellow of Leadership for Environment and Development, LEAD, and Specialist Member of the United Kingdom-based International Institute of Risk and Safety Management. She is also a member of many non-governmental organizations, including the Nigerian Environmental Society, NES, Waste Management Society of Nigeria, and Friends of Environment Society, Nigerian Conservation Foundation, amongst others. Mrs. Odeneye is happily married to Mr. Seth Adetunji Odeneye and blessed with children.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mrs. Ronke Odeneye. I'm the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of the Environment, Lagos State, and the office is called Office of Environmental Services. Today is a special day, and we're commemorating not just World Environment Day, but we're celebrating health, safety, and environment. And for the year 2020, the theme is waste in the city, and the larger theme is recycling to wealth. Lagos is a key state in Nigeria, and being a civil servant in Lagos State, I would like to share what we're doing and tell us what waste is in our city. I'll go on to share my screen. Yeah. Waste in the city, plastic waste management in Lagos, recycling to wealth. There's a lot of wealth in recycling, and it is, this is Lagos. It's a city that never sleeps. It's boisterous. We have close to 26 million people living in Lagos from different parts of the world, especially those who want to make it fast and quick in Lagos. It's a city where you can make money very quickly. So it gives me great joy to be part of this year's HSE Summit. HSE is in our DNA. We had a successful one in 2019, and 2020, we're doing it with the help and the support of Century Group and GPI. This theme is reflecting basically what we need to improve and promote on in terms of health, safety, and environment. It talks about the practices in our working environment, the negative impacts that our activities have on the environment. When we talk about waste, waste has two sides. Because we're talking about recycling and that it leads to wealth, I would like us to know so much about environmental contamination when we don't manage our solid waste right. And that is what I call solid waste mismanagement. Really, waste should not be wasted. And waste is not waste until we waste it. So basically, this mismanagement has led to a global issue and has resulted into various severe environmental and social impacts. And what we call sustainable development normally is a development that should go on without jeopardizing the ability of the future generation to take care of their own needs. Right now in Nigeria, we're not developing sustainably. If you go to our drains, into our environment, it's all filled with plastics. Anytime I see it, I think that we are wasting money, and I think I'm seeing money on the road, and I'm really sure that that's what it can be. There's so much environmental impact from waste. The first one is the uncontrolled disposal of waste. Solid waste generates a lot of pollution in our water system, the plants, the flora and fauna, the soil, to mention a few. Some people are even doing open burning instead of separating the waste and making money for it. And in so doing, they are living off a lot of noxious substances into the environment, from carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, particulate matter 2.5 and 10, and so many other particles are emitted into the atmosphere. We have a lot of waste pickers in our open dump sites. They pick with their bare hands without using any protective equipment, personal protective equipment. This poses a lot of health risk, especially now that we are faced with a public health issue that is a pandemic, i.e. we're getting all kinds of PPEs that have been used and they are contaminated. They're being picked with bare hands. So many issues in terms of environmental impacts of waste. Solid waste that are even leaching into the underground water. Marine litter is even something that we're grappling with. Even the fishes, they started eating plastics. So we need to have a holistic approach to all that we're doing, especially as it concerns waste management. Waste management, it's a word that we all use carelessly, but waste management has hierarchy, and it leads into what we call integrated waste management. The best waste management is for us to start from the home, to source separate and reduce our waste. Then when we source separate, we now can go to recycling and composting. Then we can go to conversion technologies like making sure that our garden waste becomes compost. Then landfilling is the last resort. So basically the SDG goals, when we look at the 17, all of them relate to the environment. They're either talking about reducing poverty, talking about social equality, decreasing environmental pollution. Especially the goal 1 is a pointer to the need to eradicate poverty. Poverty has made lots of people, especially ladies, who are cooking, to fell trees, to burn waste, and to do so many things that humanity should not be facing at a time like this. So hence the need to explore and recognize waste management practices. And the cliche, circular economy, is a very powerful driver for sustainable development. it means that we can make the economy to be a cycle. A circular economy is an economic system aimed at eliminating waste and continual use of the resources. One man's waste will become another man's raw material. So that's really how circular economy will work. It's also a restorative and generative. By design, it aims to keep products, components, materials at their highest utility value at all times. So there is, you can't waste it until it's really wasted. So at the end of the day, what is going to the landfill is very, very minimal. So that will help us to save the environment. That will lead me to what is on the front burner today, especially in Lagos. There is waste in our city. Some of the waste that is in the land, they are up to 10 years old. Why? Because the collection methods are not really adequate to meet the bustling and the enormous population pressure that we have. The population in Lagos, we say it's 22, but it's much more than that. We really don't have good data in Nigeria. So that's from what we've seen and the landfills that we have. We have like 4 or 5 landfill sites that are active. Some are getting full and we're closing them. And we're having about 700 trucks visiting the landfill daily. We are finding out that the plastics, the metals, the cans, they are now being recycled. But the plastics, because it's really cheap and is all over the place, I think the pickers are not getting the value that they like from it. So we need to work on plastic collection and make it really worth the while of our ladies and our women to pick, so that we can really alleviate their poverty. The goal of recycling plastic is really to reduce the high rate of plastic pollution, especially the single-use plastic, what we call styrofoam. It's a serious menace. People are driving in front of you, they finish eating amala and they just throw out their plastic. And from the window, they throw it out and then drink Coke, water, Pepsi, whatever, and they throw it out. But we're looking at the things that plastic can be used for. We've seen that if they are recycled, they can come up to become traffic cones. It can become fuel. Some people are coming to us that they can make diesel out of it. We can even flake it and make trash bags out of it by adding a little bit of material, raw material for plastics. Some kitchenwares, some school chairs, we've heard people say, yes, we can even mix it with sand, and then it becomes bricks and tiles, interlocking tiles. So we're looking at a lot of areas where we can do. There are 6 common types of plastics. Polystyrene, which is that one we used to drink coffee, plastic cutlery, and all that. Then we have polypropylene. These are lunch boxes, takeout food containers, among others. Then we have low density polyethylene. We use that for garbage bins. All those are black bins. Then PVC, that's a polyvinyl chloride. Those are the squeeze bottles and all that we use, juice bottles. Then we have high density polyethylene, shampoo containers or milk bottles. We also have the one we popularly call PET bottles. That's for soft drinks. So these are all recyclable plastics. That's waste in the city. This is Lagos. This is the bad habits of human beings dropping things all about. Apart from the population pressure, the volume of waste that is generated, and the inability of the PSP to fully collect this waste. This a data that we have in terms of waste characterization. We use a lot of we have a lot of wet waste, organics. So that we see people now, even me at home now, I convert my organics to compost by burying them. And within 2 or 3 days, my banana peel, they are already becoming manure for my plants. So it's the way to go. I'm finding out that I really don't get my bin filled up, smelly, and coming up with maggots because I already have a use for my organics. And this is being encouraged. We already have some people coming up to marketplaces, packing the food waste and making compost out of it and selling it as manure to people who are planting flowers. And also I'm seeing a great use for our organics. Plastics, those are the ones that are giving us a little bit of problem because we found out that metal, glass, and all, we are having companies actually buying them and smelting them and using them as ingots. There's aluminum ingots, there's iron ingots. So we have the plastics that we are working on. Presently, we are working with the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. They have a lot of food and beverage companies as their partners, and they're putting funds together while we are working on plastic waste policy in Lagos State. Why plastics? Plastic is one of the most, you say, is ubiquitous, most used material in the world. It's very cheap, easy to use, and just throw away, but it makes us a bit careless. Right now, we're planning that people should use things like this. I got this in England when I went to buy coffee at Starbucks, and they said, "Oh, would you like to have a cup that you take away, or you want a plastic cup?" That one was more expensive, and this was cheaper, and my coffee was free. So I bought it, and I've been using it for close to a year now. So it's a serious concern, but there are things that we can do. Even the fishes are now taking in plastic. We've seen lots of endangered animals in the water, in the sea, in the oceans, coming up strangled with either fish nets, or they saw a bag, a carrier bag, and then they ate it, or it was just strangling them. There are lots of issues that we have in the biodiversity departments. They're telling us that fishes are eating plastic. So plastic accounts for 23% of waste generated daily. So we need to do something about it. And because they are very light, we're training people now to separate the covers from the plastic and press the plastic so that they can be built and then they can be flaked. There's what we call blue box recycling. We're trying to do curbside collection in Lagos now, and we've made some estates to be pilots, like my estate in Bagada and an estate called Nikon Town in Lekki area. We're making them pilots because the people who live there understand the issues, they are elitists, and then we already have recyclers who are ready to pick up. So I just want to talk about corporate financing in this area because Lagos being a mega city, we know that government cannot do it alone because of the population, because of the growth rates, and because of the volume of waste that we're dealing with daily, and because of the waste that individuals are generating. We need help. We need help. And before the pandemic, we actually got some people to say, oh, they would like to partner with us. So if we get corporate financing like the likes of GPI and Century to partner with us, we can see this is a Kobe Crescent in Surulere when there was a serious rain. It brought all the styrofoam that the mechanic village near them, and the down end of the rain, it brought it in, and you can see that it's almost swallowing the vehicle. This is this is Blue Box Recycling Initiative and Community Recycling Center. This is what they're doing. But like I said, they're not encouraged because of the low costs that they get from it. So government is intervening. we've seen that for fishes not to eat plastic, we need to start clearing the marine. So in Loma, we already have what we call marine waste collection. The current trend that we have noticed in Lagos is that there is poor management, waste management culture, and that is being improved upon. But we need funds, we need people to have trucks. We're already calling in PSPs to have, if you want to join the PSP, have at least 2 trucks and make sure that you take like 20 to 30 trips to the landfill site per month. At that rate, we'll have lots of waste getting to the dump site rather than being in the environment. So this also costs Lagos State about 35,000 naira a ton to manage waste on the landfill. So it's also better to start from home to do source reduction, source separation, and then recycle, upcycle. These are some upcycled plastic and recycling. Some are turned to hangers, some to pipes, various domestic use. Then the flakes, you can make mattresses out of them, throw pillows, and a lot of other items. The polluter pay principle will make polluters responsible for pollution to pay. We are also looking up to corporate social responsibility, where people will develop programs that will meet specific needs of the private sector, so that would get the kind of results that will be jointed. The government is doing its own bit, and the people, the companies have their corporate social responsibility, and we're all joining hands to solve the common problem. In the federal, we have what we call extended producers responsibility. And like I mentioned before, we're writing, we're formulating policy on plastic, and the federal law from next year, that's called Nigerian National Environmental Standards Response and Enforcement Agency, NESRIA. They've already done what we call extended producers responsibility guidelines for all in Nigeria to follow. So we are going to domesticate it and be stricter with it, because Lagos is a coastal city and we have lots of water around us, and we have issues with plastics. So we are choosing plastic because it's mainly what we are dealing with that is causing us a lot of trouble in our drainages, in the streets, on the road, in the gutters, the tertiary, the secondary, and the primary drainage. So under the extended producer's responsibility, the producer is supposed to take responsibility of the end of life of their packaging and take it back and give us something. And we're also planning to go back to taking bottles to buy drinks and then getting our bottles back. We're also proposing environmental trust fund, where there is voluntary contribution by blue chips company, and then ecological fund, consortiums with private investors, grants and loans for international donor agency. In conclusion, really, there is a huge gap in the value chain of plastics in Lagos. The economics requires major investment. And if we look at what we see like in Germany, where they have reverse vending machine, where people just put in their plastics and then euro comes out. We need private investors to do such things. We need also to put a charge on the nylon bags that we give out when we go to the supermarkets like Spar, like ShopRite, so that this will discourage people. As we speak, in the Ministry of the Environment, we already started with the ban of the single-use plastics. And what we have done is we went around to encourage people, sensitize them, and got people to even donate to make cloth bags. So we started making a lot of cloth bags, and then we're going to launch it on a day that we are setting aside, because what has happened is that we also got a company to build a recycling bank for us and got a recycler to come and be picking the waste. So last week I had a lot of money, I'll call it 40,000 naira, from all my waste paper that I shredded, and they took to the toilet roll maker, Bulus. I was glad to have so much change after, but I know that I worked towards it. So we're encouraging people to start sorting their waste from home, bringing it to the recycling bank in the office, and they have days. We already have someone manning it, and they have days they come to collect it. They weigh it, they give us a card and note our points. So when we have enough points for funds, they give us our funds. So really, it's doable. It's not that the problem we cannot surmount. So we need to improve on the style that we're working on right now. But at least the starting point is the push we already have to get great mileage from people. We're already encouraging. We've started getting results. We've called in various stakeholders. We've spoken to the captains of industry, and we're believing and trusting God that very soon all the mountains of refuse and plastics especially will become a thing of the past, because we'll have more people getting involved, more companies understanding what it is that we're doing, and this will improve the current plastic recycling capacity, and then remove this plastic waste from our environment. So with this, I'll just stop here and say thank you to all of you. Thank you for listening, and ready to take your question.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Odeneye. That was an amazing presentation, and we learned so much, particularly what the regulatory body is doing in Lagos State in terms of the opportunities that are there when we decide to recycle our waste. Indeed, we are looking forward to you in the panel session to learn a lot more. Thank you very much for that.
Jackie is presently the Vice President of East Africa region of the Society of Safety, Health and Environment Africa. She is a result-driven, self-motivated and resourceful QHSE professional with a strong work ethic and sense of corporate, personal and professional integrity. She is a certified lead auditor for ISO 9001 2015 Quality Management System, ISO 14001 2015, and ISO 45001 2018 Occupational Health and Safety Management System, and holds a significant level of experience in solving problems relating to health, safety, and environmental issues, always working to current legislation and assisting in completing reviews of current policies, systems, and procedures in line with company expectations, leading to a solid record of 0 lost time incidents in the past 3 years. Jackie is committed to ensuring a safe and compliant working environment and has extensive experience on several multidisciplinary projects, with the latest one being the East African Crude Oil Pipeline. She has an MSc in Occupational Health, Safety and Environmental Management from University of Portsmouth, distinction in NEBOSH International Diploma in Environmental Management and NEBOSH International Diploma in Occupational Health and Safety. Please welcome Jackie Lwanga.
Good day, everyone. I'm really excited to be presenting to you today. Talking about a topic I'm very, very passionate about. So I'm really excited. I'm Jackie Lwanga. I'm the Vice President, East African Region for the Society of Women in Safety, Health and Environment, Africa. I'm also the Health, Safety and Environmental Manager for the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, Ugandan section. I'm really excited to be talking about recycling because it's something that I'm very passionate about. And much as we know the benefits, I'd like to talk about the challenges that we face and why we are not doing it as we should be doing it. Let me share my screen. Give me a few minutes, please. Okay, so yes, recycling to wealth. We know, one man's waste is another man's raw material. But I'd like today to talk about the challenges that developing countries face when it comes to waste recycling. Most of the waste that is generated in developing countries can actually be decomposed, it can be recycled, and if properly managed, actually it would provide high opportunities for the development of the social economy of the developing countries. I'm going to talk about developing countries as a whole. I'm not going to talk about a country in particular. And definitely waste management varies country to country, region to region. So I'm just going to look at it all as a whole. Looking at the waste composition in the developing countries, food waste, paper, cardboard, plastics, rags, metals and glass, electric light bulbs, batteries, discarded medicines, automotive parts, human waste, animal bones, ash, wood, timber, waste oil, among others. Looking at it all, actually, we can be able to recycle, to recover, we can compost some of it, we can turn some of it, into energy. We can take whatever remains to the incinerator, and lastly, properly take it to the landfill. So we know what should be done, but why aren't we doing it is the question. So what are the main concerns? We have population growth, and it is predicted by the year 2050, the African population will have grown to more than 2 billion. Now, can you imagine the amount of waste that will be generated from that population? Much as we are, there's urbanization going on, that means lots of people are going to converge in the cities. A lot of waste is going to be generated. And yet it's no secret that residents in urban areas do not really participate in waste management. Their participation is very low, at least for the developing countries, which is my topic today. So we really need to do something there. Looking at public health and the health problems caused by poor hygienic and sanitation, we need to really improve on or come up with new approaches on how to handle the waste that is generated in our countries in the developing world. Climate change is another one that is a concern. Much as Africa only has 15% of the world population, we generate 3% of CO2 emissions. So we are really contributing to the climate change, and this has direct adverse impacts on our health, on land use, on agriculture, on water resources, among others. So we definitely need to do something. And looking at human development and economic growth, it is said that people are the wealth of any nation. So if we are to develop, to do something about human development, then we need sustainable development that will help us move forward in health and education and be able to give people a good quality of life. So definitely doing something or doing nothing is not acceptable. We have to do something about it. Next, I'd like to look at the current situation. What do we currently have? When you look at existence of informal source of, separation and recycling, it is not like there's nothing at all in place, but we do have people informally doing separation, doing recycling, and this is normally people from low-income homes who live on it for survival, who live on recycling for survival. So sometimes it's families organized or individuals on their own. So these are the ones, men, women, children. It's really bad because it keeps children out of school, but they need to survive on it. They need to live on it. So yes, there's something happening, but it's being done informally. It's not done formally. And even when you look at the developing countries, waste management practices definitely differ from urban to rural areas, at least in urban areas, because we have nowhere to dispose of waste. It is collected by, authorized agencies. But in rural areas, people are sometimes struggling to find something to eat. You cannot tell them to pay to have their waste collected. So most of them, just dispose of it any way they deem fit. Also, there are differences when it comes to residential and industrial waste, collection. Residential areas, sometimes people struggle to have to pay to have the waste taken, whereas industrial producers can actually afford to have certified management agencies to collect the waste. In developing countries, we have different government agencies which are mandated to manage the different waste sectors. This involves the local governments, it involves private companies who are in the industry. And sometimes it leaves also a gap because we've got the local councils with the mandate, and then we have the Environmental Management Authority also handling something to do with waste. So sometimes it brings confusion and we do not know who falls where and who does what. Yeah, the current situation, definitely solid waste segregation at source. There's no awareness. It's very, very poor for those who do it. And also the attitude towards waste sorting, like for the organizations who do it, they segregate the waste, paper, glass, cans, and general waste. But when the waste management company comes to collect the waste, they just throw it all together onto the truck. So people feel like their efforts have all gone to waste. And we need to do something about that. So here are some of the pictures of waste being segregated. This is informally, and this is what commonly happens in developing countries. You can see children, not knowing the hazards present, but just standing there and trying to segregate. And yes, people think, yes, it's only plastics that can be, recycled, although very little money is gotten out of it. Metal is another one that people know bring in a lot of money. So when safety signage or when the councils or the roadworks, people put signage up after roads have been completed, people actually cut it down and take it to go and make money. But otherwise, the culture for recycling, reuse, reduce is nearly non-existent in developing countries. So why is it that it is non-existent? Here are some of the challenges. We have a fragmented approach when it comes to waste management. There's also a lack of clear definition and delineation of the different types of waste. So there's really no clear-cut line on which is which. When you look at the costs for waste management, everything from transportation to treatment to disposal, the costs are actually quite high. So this, is a challenge. There's also a lack of effective and comprehensive legislative framework. For example, I'm not sure if there are any laws for reducing waste, for reusing waste, for recycling waste. At the moment, waste is collected door to door, by companies in non-compliant trucks. There's a picture of a truck, collecting waste. It cannot compact the waste. So yes, the challenges do exist. The infrastructure for collecting, for transportation, even for disposal. Most of the landfills are all full. Human awareness and capacities, very many people are not aware. Most of them think it's only plastic and metal, which is recyclable. And there's lack of adequate administrative and financial resources. We are struggling with the health sector, we are struggling with the education sector. So you can imagine having to allocate a big budget to waste. It is waste after all, we don't need it. So I don't think, governments would consider cutting other budgets and putting that money to waste, much as it has benefits if we recycle. Other challenges, limited investment allocated to waste sectors. Waste collection is at a fee. If somebody is struggling to eat, how are they going to be able to even be able to pay for somebody to come and take their waste? Is it even feasible? Is it doable? I don't know. At the moment, there is no background data and information on the status of waste. For example, the different types of waste that are generated, that waste that is collected, waste that is transported, waste that is treated. This is very key for developing waste management systems and for also monitoring the sector and how it is doing in regards to waste management. Also, insufficient integration of various stakeholders of the waste chain. If we took the waste producers, the waste management companies, if we took everybody and, involved them, to develop, mechanisms, that can work, it would help. We need to have everybody on a table and let them all have an input in that. There are also global economic challenges. Right now with the COVID pandemic, definitely there's going to be an impact on the assistance being offered to developing countries. So when budgets are cut, that means the waste budget will also be cut. So our challenges are very real. And let's now ponder on the way forward. This will be probably a discussion, with everybody else at the end of all the presentations. We need to have proper standards and laws, guidelines for managing our waste. We need to have proper infrastructure if we're to manage the waste properly. We need to focus on the 3 R's, the hierarchy, of waste, reduce, reuse, recycle, and to sensitize the people on it. I don't know if it's feasible to extend producer responsibility and integrate all costs associated with a product throughout the life cycle, including disposal in the market price of a product. I do not know if that is feasible, but at least would have some money taken out there to deal with the waste. There's the polluter pays principle, whereby, the person who generates the waste pays. I don't know if this is feasible in developing countries. We need some financing for management of solid waste. So we need to put up management systems and to allocate enough finances and resources to be able to manage that. But last but not least, we need to focus on sustainable development and to sensitize people on helping those in future to be able to meet their needs. So thank you very much. I'll be taking questions later, but I thank you for having taken the time to listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for that enlightening session. We look forward to seeing you in the panel session as well. Thank you very much.